Check, check.
Check, check.
All right, I think we're good to get started. We're gonna start from our last save. Oh, what were we doing? Oh, right, we were gonna go to... the street or the pawnbrokery. I think we just want to go straight to the pawnbrokery. So this is a British pawnbrokery. Oh my, there are all sorts of tools and contraptions in here that I've never laid eyes on before. Like... that birdcage. Or... I don't know. Ah, Susato-san, and that spark of wonder in your eyes. You can't wait to scour the shelves, can you? I get the impression you enjoy places like this. Oh yes, I don't know why. But seeing such a lot of things I don't understand is a real thrill for me. My dear fellows, let us not forget why we are here. Oh, Mr. Sholmes. We are calling on matters of business, not pleasure. Clearly, Mr. Sholmes means business too, judging from the spark of fury in his eyes. Ah, Mr. Sholmes, sir. Welcome back. Did you hear that brazen welcome? Well, yes, we are potential customers after all. We are disgruntled customers, Mr. Naruhodo, and it's time to inform Mr. Windibank of our ire. Come, the fight is afoot. Violin. Naturally, you will recall this, which I retrieved from you some days ago. Yes. This second-rate fiddle is not my faithful instrument, Mr. Windibank. The color of the wood is different. It has holes in it. It's not even the same size. A wonderful summary of our observations, Mr. Sholmes. I'm so very sorry, sir. How utterly unforgivable of me, an inexcusable mistake for a pawnbroker. There's only one way to make amends. I shall have to take my own life. Jesus. I don't think that will be necessary, do you? If I may just say one thing before I pop off. Yes. It was you, sir, Mr. Sholmes, who took it upon himself to remove the item the other day, I believe. Sorry? As I recall, I entered the storeroom to fetch your violin when I heard, here it is. You did? And when I turned controvert you, you had taken the viola and left, sir. However, there can be no doubt that the blame lies firmly at my own door for allowing you to leave. So I shall not grumble or grouse any longer. May this guilt die with me. No, no, no! Stop, my dear fellow! The fault is mine! Whew. It would appear that the fight is over. I do humbly apologize, Mr. Windybank. Evidently, my questionable disposition precipitated this tragedy. Well, you wouldn't be Mr. Herlock Sholmes without that questionable disposition, now would you? Aha, I do believe you may be right, sir. Aha ha 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 ha! It's either laugh or cry, I suppose. You are, it must be said, one of my more challenging customers. I needn't remind you of the peculiar collection of items you've brought through my door in the past. Oh, peculiar items? In the extreme, ma'am, for example, the unpublished manuscript of an eponymous work, the Novels of Herlock Sholmes or some such. Oh my, a new full-fledged novel? An unpublished? A story I have yet to read, you mean? Ah, forgive me. Wait, before you die, you must tell me more. Unpublished story? I must know more. Tell me everything. Wow, Susato-san is really fired up now. Is there really an unpublished story under this very roof? Well, one day the gentleman here brought in an old metal chest, you see. I should like to entrust this to your care for a while, Mr. Windybank. For a chest like that, 1 shilling, sir, not a farthing more. It houses something of very great value indeed, the latest manuscript recounting the adventures of one Mr. Herlock Sholmes. I beg your pardon, a manuscript? You wish to deposit a manuscript? Indeed I do, for I am confident it will be quite safe here. And that was that. As such, Mr. Sholmes' latest tale of otherworldly mystery lies dormant in my storeroom. Mr. Sholmes, is that really true? Do I sense that someone doesn't want to talk about this? I continue to pay your fee, do I not? Then kindly continue to store my belongings securely. Of course, sir, of course. They're safe and sound with me, I assure you on my life. This is all very strange. I wonder, could I ask you something? Ah, a gentleman from the East, I see. Yes, that sable suit, I suppose I could offer you 6p for it. Without wishing to offend, the tone is somewhat dull. Sorry. Aha, but for your splendid attire, ma'am, 5 guineas no less. The colors are exquisite, the design exotic. Eastern artistry at its finest, may I say. Oh my, 5 guineas you say? How interesting. Why do I feel as though I've suffered some sort of defeat here? Actually, I was hoping to ask you about your business. I've heard it said that pawnbrokeries are used rather like banks here in London. Yes, sir, indeed. Many of my customers utilize the establishment as you described. I appraise their items and offer them a proportionate loan and 2 months of secure stowage. If, in that time, they repay the original sum to me plus the agreed interest, their items are happily returned. But what happens if they don't pay you the money? Then the items are offered for sale in my shop, as you can see on the shelves behind me. So you never sell items before the 2 months has passed, then? That's right, ma'am, that's right. Which means some considerable responsibility rests on my shoulders. Should a customer's precious belongings be lost, the only recompense is for me to end it all. Or, you know, get their item back. The very idea, Mr. Windybank, is an absurdity. One should never talk of one's demise so casually. It's alright, I don't know why I'm yawning today. Says the man who was telling us all it was a good day to die only this morning. And let us not forget that I have already helped you take measures to ensure such a tragedy never occurs. Oh, what sort of measures? I engineered a simple device which Mr. Windybank has installed here in his shop. I call it the Red-Handed Recorder. Is that not so, Mr. Windybank? Ha! What was that deep sigh about? Sounds like a old-timey security camera, but what on earth is a red-handed recorder? Use your eyes, my dear fellow. There are two just below the ceiling. I can see what appears to be a camera attached to some sort of timing device. Where is it, though? I don't see it. I will just believe them that it's there. Very astute. It is indeed a camera, furnished with some 100 pieces of celluloid film. And every 30 minutes precisely, the camera automatically records the appearance of the shop. Here, I have an example I can show you. Ah yes, a print from the camera set to record the activity at the shop counter. I developed a special type of film so sensitive it produces a crystal clear image even in darkness. Really, that's extraordinary. Yes, you can clearly see the counter on the door behind it, look. Oh, and the door behind it, look. So you see, were someone to enter the premises with ill intent, his identity would be summarily exposed. But did you not say that the photographic prints were taken at a 30-minute interval? Indeed, as you say, my dear madam. Then what if the incident were to occur in between the times? One could only say that would be a cruel twist of fate. I must confess your devices have been giving me some cause for distress of late. I beg your pardon, Mr. Windybank? Surely they are anything but distressing. Reassuring is the word. It's the cost of the film, sir. You most graciously place not one but two cameras in my shop, after all, which means I must pay for nigh on 100 utterly useless prints every single day. I'm afraid the cost of the film will break me before I'm very much older. Nevertheless, a small price to pay to ensure the safety of my preferred pawnbroker, you know? My dear fellows, we verge on an age where safety and security come at a price. Oh, heaven help us. Now then, Mr. Sholmes, allow me to return your precious violin. Ah, the very thing. Thank you, Mr. Windybank. Perhaps this might mark the end of the peculiar items you try to pop, Because if anything were to happen to one of them, this would be the only answer. I really think you ought to stop waving that gun around. Someone could get hurt. Fear not. Sorry. I've only loaded a single bullet, so no one but myself could possibly be harmed. That's not really what I meant. Good day to you then, Mr. Windybank. It's been a pleasure as always, Mr. Sholmes. So, Mr. Naruhodo, now we can explore at last. What's everything on the desk? There seems to be a little door hidden behind that curtain there. That leads to the storage room where Mr. Windybank keeps articles that are currently in pawn. Ah, I see. There's nothing of particular interest inside. I certainly wouldn't recommend any larcenous activity. Recommended or not, it's not something I tend to do. There is but one key, and Mr. Windibank keeps it in his pocket at all times. Before he sleeps, he places it into a small pot which he slides under his pillow. How on earth do you know about that, Mr. Sholmes? I am a detective, sir. It is my business to know what others do not. I am frequently assailed by information that I neither care for nor wish to retain. Mr. Sholmes, you are a wonder. And the prime suspect if this pawnbrokery is ever burgled. Look at that enormous ledger open on the counter there. Mr. Windibank is, if nothing else, very particular about recording the items he accepts. He'd have to be, otherwise he'd get himself into all sorts of trouble. Which might explain the thing that catches my eye far more than the ledger. This revolver here. Do not entertain even a single thought of pilfering an article herein, my dear fellow. I assure you, Mr. Windibank would not hesitate to draw that weapon with a speed belying his portly size. Oh, you don't mean he'd blow his brains out? Indeed. In recompense for his blunder. Ooh. Oh my. But in any case, of course, we would never do such a thing. How could you even suggest it? Yeah, that's kinda harsh. Excuse me. What an assortment of things there are on these shelves here. Crockery, footwear, clocks and watches, almost anything you care to imagine. Those are forfeited items offered for sale by the pawnbroker. What does that really mean, though? When you pawn or colloquially pop an item, the broker lends you money against its worth. He stores the item for an agreed period of time, after which the loan must be repaid. If not, he is free to display it in his shop for sale at a price of his choosing. Oh yes, now you've explained it, I'm noticing little price tags on everything. Of course, simply by paying the agreed interest on the loan, one can extend the period of safekeeping. So you may pawn that black garb of yours without fear, my dear fellow. My treasured university uniform? Never. It embodies my student spirit. That's interesting. I don't think that's actually how pawnbroker places work these days. Like, you can't just pay the interest to keep your item in storage, I don't think. I mean, I've never pawned something. Maybe that is how it works. Look at this. What could this lovely big shiny box be? That, my dearest madame, is a music box. Surely you have such things in your own country? Oh my, yes, but I've certainly never seen one so large before. Shall we listen a while? Ah, what a sublime sound. It's like the music of angels. I've never heard anything like it before in my life. This particular specimen is of the larger variety commonly found in public houses and restaurants. There is a metal disc inside on which the notes to be played are recorded. Simply by replacing the disc with another, any music you care to imagine can be played. My goodness! What a simply delightful machine. Indeed, though their popularity has waned recently with the development of the gramophone, of course. Ha! Science and technology advance at such an overwhelming pace. That's not a calendar you could easily miss, is it? 15th of April, today's date. Yes, that's not for sale, I must point out. It is an Eastern-style page-a-day calendar. Every night at midnight, I tear off the front page to reveal the following day's date. The perfect calendar for a tearaway fellow such as yourself, Mr. Windibank. Who was it who walked out of here with the wrong violin before? Well, when the agreed storage period has passed without repayment, articles are forfeited, you see. So I have to keep a close eye on the date. It's something of a pawnbroker's obsession, you might say. Oh yes, I can see you're very dedicated to your job. Now what do you suppose this rather enormous machine does? It seems to have two little windows for looking through. Allow me to enlighten you, my dear fellows. What you are looking at is a stereoscope. A stereoscope? Fascinating. It is aptly named, I assure you. Look through the eyepieces and see for yourself. Oh, I should be delighted to. Excuse me a moment while I just have a look. Just before you do, there is something I should point out. My dear fellows, in order to see the image properly, stereoscopically, as it were, you will need to be cross-eyed. However, if that is beyond you, it is of little consequence today. Alright then, I'm going to try it. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, you must see at once. Oh, alright then. So I need to be cross-eyed, like I'm trying to look at my own nose. What the? I don't believe it. It's just a photographic print, but it seems like you could reach out and touch it. Yes, the sense of depth is startling, is it not? Stereoscopes are one of London's many fads. They are often found in little stalls in the park. People queue for hours to see them. Why? Why are people meddling with such black magic? It's no magic, my dear madame. It is, well, far too complicated to explain at present. We shall save this lesson for another day. Oh. Is there anything else to see here? I guess let's head out to Baker Street. Look at all the different things in the window of this shop. That's Windibank's. It looks much smarter than a pawnbroker's in Japan, doesn't it? Yes, you're right. I find pawn shops at home rather inapproachable, personally. It reminds me of tearfully parting with my favorite fountain pen. I felt so miserable. Okay, I'm just checking one thing real quick. Sorry, I was just checking one thing. It's not important now. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger, Mr. Naruhodo. It's already been 2 months since we started taking lodgings here above Mr. Sholmes' office. I still can't quite believe it. I never expected things would turn out like this. Oh, I know, to actually be sharing accommodations with the world's greatest detective. If I ever find myself before a court of law now, I will have not one regret. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'd be happy to defend you, of course. I guess we just go back to Sholmes' suite? Come to think of it, I haven't seen Iris doing much writing recently. But there's paper already set up in the typewriter, look, as if she's about to start. That reminds me, when I mentioned that Iris was in the process of writing a full-fledged novel, Mr. Natsume was most impressed. Oh yes, Mr. Natsume. That's what I'll be doing too once I'm back in Japan, he said through tightly clenched fists and teeth. Do we have to go back to the legal consultancy? I guess not, because nothing new happened. Did I miss a, like, interaction thingy at Windibanks? What am I missing? Three globes of gold. Is that some sort of charm? Dear me, have you not seen that sign before? No, never. The three golden balls are, in Great Britain at least, the universal sign of a pawnbrokery. There are more than 700 such establishments in the capital, all showing the same sign. Oh, I see. Ha, I had not imagined your ignorance was so profound. Oh, well, what is the significance of the three golden balls then? Does it have some special meaning? That is entirely unimportant here, dear madam. Irrelevant, even. You mean you don't know? So maybe that's a relevant tidbit that we missed? Oh, there's this thingy. What's this thingy? Look at this. Whatever could it be used for? I have no idea. Ah. There's a small catch just here, look. We're going to open it, aren't we? Oh my, that's amazing. It has some sort of spring-loaded mechanism, which we'll never manage to put back to the way it was before. What are you two doing? What? Us? Nothing. No, nothing at all. Whatever this device is, it seems to have a pair of little windows to look through. I feel as though I've seen something rather similar to this elsewhere. What? Only tuppence for it? That ain't fair and you know it. The article is barely worth a penny, miss. I cannot offer more. Sounds like there's an argument brewing over by the counter. Come on, that can't be right. Have you even had a proper butcher's at it? I've seen all I need to see, young girl. Wait, don't we know? I'm sure I recognize her. Oh yes, it's the young lady from Mr. McGilded's trial 2 months ago. Her name is Gina Lestrade, my lord. She's a chancer, earns her crust among large crowds, relieving people of their purses. What's commonly called a pickpocket. Gordon Bennett, you lot! Hello, Miss Lestrade. I hope you've been well. What? You remembered me then, do ya? Well, I remember being completely surrounded by smoke, that's for sure. So what are you doing in here? Down and out like the rest of us, nothing to eat, come to pop that black weasel, or sorry, coat, have ya? What is it about this black uniform that makes everyone comment on it? Ah, good day, unless I'm much mistaken. You would be the young pickpocket who stole our experimental smoke grenade launcher. Ah, Mr. Sholmes. So, you have something of value to pawn, do you? Allow me to see the article and I shall negotiate with Mr. Windibank on your behalf. Pull the other one. I don't need no help from some stuck-up D. Get out of my business, go on, or I'll make trouble for you. As you wish, Miss Lestrade, I will happily remove myself from your presence. He's really done it. He's gone. I'm sorry, but as I said, there really is no room for negotiation here. What is that thing he has in his hand? Some kind of metal disc? And you, go on, leave me alone. Oh, Miss Lestrade, just pretend we aren't here. We shan't be offended in the slightest. Susato-san can really stand her ground when she wants to. Whatever. I guess we can converse with her. Somehow, I didn't really think you were the sort of person who'd use a pawnbroker, Miss Lestrade. Yeah, well I am, alright. I'm a Londoner just like everyone else. That a problem, is it? No, not at all. It's just that, well... Oh, I get it. I know what you're thinking. That thing probably don't even belong to her. Probably got it on the dive, didn't she? Yeah, I can see it written all over your Chevy Chase. Well, I might have been thinking something along those lines. You're not gonna deny it, Mr. Naruhodo? Alright then, I'm just gonna come out and ask you straight. Do you pawn things that you steal from other people? Well, I don't know how best to answer that, really. Suppose sometimes. You're not gonna deny it either, Miss Lestrade? But not this time, alright? I swear, that thing belongs to me. The disc that Mr. Windibank is holding. Perhaps we should see what he has to say about all this. I guess we go here and then examine Mr. Windibank. Miss Lestrade's disc. Mr. Windibank, what exactly is this metal disc that Miss Lestrade has brought in? Seems to have hundreds of tiny little bumps on its surface. Ah, this is a music disc, you see, for use inside a music box. In a music box? What, you don't even know what a music box is? You Eastern lot ain't too savvy, eh? I know what a music box is, I've just never seen one of these discs before. The small protrusions on the metal disc encode the tune to be played by the music box. You simply insert the disc and set the machine going, and beautiful music plays. It's so incredible. Tell us, what tune is on this disc? Well, I'm afraid I couldn't tell you that. There are so many different types of music box, you see. British-made, German, Swiss. I have no way of knowing what particular machine this disc was made for. I see. And that's it in a nutshell. I wouldn't have any customers for an item like this, even if the young lady forfeited it. Really, I'm already offering more than I should at a penny. That's a packet of lies. He told me he did. He said it was, well... He? Who? Never you mind, it just ain't right, that's all. That disc's worth good money, I know it is. Well then, you'll have to try your luck at another pawnbroker's, won't you? Arg. Let's ask him about Gina. She's been in before, of course, this little tatterdom Tatterdemalion? I see. And brought some dubious article or other with her every single time, I might add. Dubious? What are you trying to say? I'm an honest customer, me. So is there something dubious about this disc she brought in today? Well, if only it were that simple. Sorry, what do you mean? What she actually brought in was a storage ticket. Storage ticket, so... Miss Lestrade has actually come to redeem an article from you today, is that right? Yeah, that's right. A girl like me has a lot of stuff what needs storing. Alright, yes, that's definitely dubious. The article in question would have been forfeited at midnight tonight. But as she gave me the ticket for it and repaid both the loan and the interest, I was obliged to return the article to her. But what was the article? Do tell us, Mr. Windibank. The little scamp is wearing it, ma'am. It's the overcoat that she redeemed. Oh. What? What's wrong with that? It fits, don't it? I mean, it's mine, so of course it does. So what about the disc then? How does that come into all this? The disc is something else. A new article to pawn if the girl and I can agree a price. I'm confused. I thought you said that Miss Lestrade brought in a storage ticket today. It's really quite simple. Yes, the child brought me a storage ticket and the money owed on it, as you say. For this heavy black coat which you returned to her care as I understood it. That's right, yes. And rather unsurprisingly, as soon as the little ragamuffin put the thing on, she went rifling through the pockets. Oh, you mean... What? Don't you know it's rude to stare at a lady? I see. So it came from the pocket of the overcoat, did it? If you mean this disc, then yes, exactly, ma'am. And she immediately tried to pawn it, for quite a high price as well. This is all rather suspicious, I think. Give it up, I'm just trying to pawn something like anyone else would. Miss Lestrade, may I ask who deposited the overcoat here in the first place? Well, me. It doesn't really appear to be your size. Me old man, it's me old man's, ain't it? Is it, Miss Lestrade? Yes, this is definitely all rather suspicious. Out of my way, please. Who's this picture postcard English gentleman? Good day to you, ladies, gentlemen. What's your problem, eh? There is no problem as long as you remove yourself. I have a matter to discuss with the proprietor. If you intend to make a problem of it, I shall see you outside, little girl, for the hiding you deserve. Jeez. Look, ain't it obvious I ain't done talking with him yet? If you think you're such a gent, you should know how to wait in line. Well, you are an impudent little brat, aren't you? As well as a pickpocket. Who are you? How do you know who I am? The question is, how do you not know who I am? You haven't the courtesy to even remember the faces of your victims, it seems. What? You mean I from you? Broker. Yes, sir? I believe this filthy pocket thief has just redeemed an article from you, no? Yes, the article in question belongs to me. I demand for it to be returned at once. Oh my. Now that's a lie. What are you trying to pull? Give me back my overcoat, you wastrel, and needless to say, any music box discs too. No, you can't have it. You just can't. It's me old man's, or it was. Now it's mine. Goodness, Mr. Naruhodo. This is a very awkward situation. Yes. I think perhaps we should hear both sides of the story in a little more detail. I guess let's converse with Gina. The gentleman's accusation. Miss Lestrade is what the gentleman is saying. What do you think? It's all lies, ain't it? Obviously. I swear on my life I ain't never laid eyes on that dandy before. Let's hear it now, you little ragamuffin. You stole it, didn't you? That ticket you brought in here just now. No, I swear it. I swear to God. It was barely an hour ago. I was walking along the street minding my own business, and this little gutterling ran into me. I knew at once what had happened. I've been robbed yet again, I thought to myself, those wretched pickpockets. Yet again. Oh yes, as you can see, I am a man of impeccable style. This isn't the first time I've been targeted by these back-slum scoundrels. Now then, relinquish my overcoat. He's making the clearly you don't own an air fryer face. Grr. Come along now, Miss Lestrade. Give the good gentleman his coat back. If you're going to cause trouble, I shall have no choice but to call the police. Hold on, why does everyone think it's me? Just look at this dandy cove, and you think I'm the dodgy one? I'm sorry, but no one's going to believe you. Well, what about evidence? Yeah. Where's your evidence that I've stolen something, eh? Come on, let's see it. Oh, I have evidence, naturally. You what? Evidence that the article Miss Lestrade redeemed actually belongs to this gentleman? Of course, we need only consult Mr. Windibank's ledger to know the truth. We'll be able to look up the name of the person who deposited the article in the first place. Yes, brilliant. I'm very sorry, but I'm afraid that won't be possible. Oh? I never ask customers' names. That's a strict policy of mine. But why not? Well now, as you can imagine, some of my customers have circumstances to consider. A great many of them prefer to maintain their anonymity. Yes, I see. But then how can you know if an article belongs to the person asking to redeem it? Oh, it's quite simple. Good sir, might I trouble you for the watchword associated with the article in question? Of course, it's... Professor. Yes, that's right. And all the evidence we need. This gentleman is the rightful owner of the article, without doubt. A watchword? Interesting. So, about these watchwords, Mr. Windibank. As I just explained, I never ask customers' names when they deposit items with me. There are many reasons why certain customers would like to keep their activities secret. That wasn't exactly a subtle glance at Mr. Sholmes just now, was it? Great detectives have no dark secrets, none at all. Yes, well, anyway, that's why I always ask for a watchword whenever I accept a new article. In many ways, it's like the secret combination of numbers used to unlock a vault. The date of deposit, a description, and a watchword uniquely identify each item. And of course, then I give the storage ticket to the customer. When someone comes to redeem something, I ask for the ticket and the watchword. And if that someone tells you the correct watchword, you return the article? That's right, sir, yes. Just as soon as the requisite fee is paid. And I have supplied you with the information you require already, but for the avoidance of doubt, the article in question is an overcoat deposited 2 months ago on the 15th of February. With a watchword of Professor. All perfectly correct information, sir. Ow! Really, this is beyond a joke now. There is no further room for doubt. I bet the rich guy is not actually telling the truth. I guess we talk to the guy? Picture postcard gentleman. Excuse me, but who are you? One would expect the inquirer to introduce himself first. But clearly you are not British, so perhaps our ways are foreign to you. Oh, sorry, yes, we're from the Empire of Japan. We're studying here. Oh yes, Japan. I've heard talk of the place. Why is this guy JoJo posing all the time? Its inhabitants live on some fiery brown-colored soup dressed up with exotic spices. You mean curry? I don't think curry is even like... I mean, it is a Japanese thing, but it's not like a uniquely Japanese thing. Yeah, like I usually associate curry with India. You might be thinking of somewhere else, and what was that theatrical gesticulation about? Perhaps. Anyway, if you are a gentleman, sir, you offer your own name first before inquiring after the name of another. Of course, yes, I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a lawyer. Well, a student of law, really. My name is Susato Mikitoba. I am Mr. Naruhodo's assistant. I see. My name is Benedict. Yes. Eggert Benedict. Enchanté. He's so refined in how he holds himself and how he speaks, but that name is suspicious. Now, to the matter at hand. My overcoat. Return it at once. To someone with the style to carry it off. Grr, every move he makes, every breath he takes. I can't stand watching him. So let that be an end to the matter. Thank you for your custom, Mr. Eggert Benedict, sir. With such reasonable rates of interest, I may even decide to come back. This is why I ate grown-ups. Just because I'm a diver, everyone thinks that makes me a liar. And the contents of the coat pockets, if you please, broker. But of course, sir, here is the disc for you. Just this one? Pardon, sir. I was expecting another, or that is, I deposited another. Another disc? Oh dear. I regret to inform you, sir, that was what was deposited with... That what was deposited with me was merely the overcoat. The disc happened to be in one of the pockets, but I was completely unaware of it until now. So, Gutterling, you're hiding more of what's rightfully mine, are you? Says who, eh? I don't know nothing about it. Very well. Then I shall bid you farewell. Say goodbye to style. Wait a minute, that disc is mine. Arg! What do you think you're doing, you little tramp? You've drawn blood, you filthy animal. Oh my, yes, there's blood on the disc. Because of all those sharp little bumps. The man must have scratched his finger on them. I found it first, alright? I mean, it belonged to me, old man. So you're not having it. Boy, you take it. Me? If I hang on to it, they'll have it off me again, so you keep hold of it. Miss Lestrade, why is this disc so important to her? You there, in the black livery. Hand that disc to me at once, please. No, don't. He's lying. Grown-ups are all liars. Well, what do I do now? How am I going to resolve this? Let's talk to Windibank. Mr. Windibank is clearly at a loss here. We have to do something about this before he reaches for that revolver of his. I trust Gino way more than I trust this rich guy. Wow, Miss Lestrade is really looking daggers at that mysterious gentleman. We need to do something to calm things down before she loses control and attacks him again. Look at those piercing eyes. He's clearly in no mood to talk. Let's do something quickly before this mysterious gentleman leaves to fetch the police or something. I guess we'll examine the music box? Look at Mr. Windibank watching diligently over his shop. There are still so many things I'm curious about, but somehow I don't really feel like this is the right time to be browsing. Calming this fraught situation must be our first priority, and I'm fairly certain we can find just the great thing we need among the articles here in the shop. Wait, can we check the cameras? Is that a thing? Where is the camera? Oh. Mr. Sholmes? What are you examining with such keen interest there? As you enjoy a bar of caramel, I see. So, you found me at last, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry. After that young pickpocket sent me on my way, I was forced to lurk in the shadows, cruelly ostracized as the rest of you partook in the jovial atmosphere of fellowship. I had nothing to occupy my mind, but was too ashamed to let society see what my downfall has done to me. So feigning mock interest, I pretended to examine the tedious trinkets in this desolate place. Whilst, as you shrewdly observed, gnawing on the only friend I have left, this 7% solution of caramel. Pray, do you claim to understand the depths of my despair, Mr. Naruhodo? But how could you? I was so lonely, so desperately lonely. And why on earth didn't you rejoin the conversation? Things have gone from bad to worse here, you know? Yes, I overheard much of your conversation, or rather, in my craving for human contact, my ears devoured every word that was uttered. You really were sad, weren't you? Poor Mr. Sholmes, I feel simply awfully for you. It would seem that my inferences are correct. Oh, surely you're not about to tell us that you've solved the entire case once again. My dear madame, sometimes I wonder, were my genius for deduction to be commoditized? How much could I pawn it for? It seems Mr. Sholmes has had another of his flashes of inspiration. But who knows if it will help resolve the situation between Miss Lestrade and the mysterious gentleman. What's the right thing to do here? Listen to the deduction, I guess? Well, Miss Lestrade, it would appear you find yourself in something of a predicament. Where the blue blazes have you been, eh? Pardon? When the lady's in trouble, a shrewd gent's supposed to be there to help straight away, not an hour later. Harsh. And who, pray tell, are you? Mr. Egbert Benedict, you have, in my eyes, a veritably encyclopedic array of curiosities about your person. Nevertheless, there are two immovable conclusions I have drawn. I beg your pardon. The first is this. The true reason for your visit to this pawnbrokery today is something you have not yet revealed. And the second is this. Considerable crime is in contemplation, one you will orchestrate with the intent to steal a vast sum of money. Well, Mr. Benedict, what say you to my deductions? How? He's turned as white as a hard-boiled egg. It would seem that once again, Mr. Sholmes has made a flawless deduction. Just who do you think you are, sir? Ah, yes, as I hoped. That is precisely the pained expression I was looking for. Are we about to have one of Herlock's great deductions? So shall we begin? The time has come for yet another Herlock Sholmes' logic and reasoning spectacular. First of all, we must ask ourselves on what business you ventured to this pawnbrokery today. You claim to have followed this pickpocket here, having had the redemption ticket stolen from you on the street. But that is most certainly a lie. The real truth is something quite different. As revealed by that which you hold in your hand. This, what brought you to this shop in the first place, is the staff recruitment flyer. The piece of paper in your hand is a staff wanted advertisement from this very shop. And even the most unobservant would soon realize that a man of your appearance has no need of such employ. In other words, there is some ulterior motive for your actions. The cane, which you unwittingly clutch to your person, exhibits an incontrovertible contradiction. What utter rot! I've had this cane for years. It says AG on it. The missing ferrule? The end of any walking cane would be terminated with a metal ferrule to protect the wooden tip. And yet, detailed analysis shows the wooden tip of this stick to be utterly bare. Therefore, there is only one conclusion. The rod that you hold in your hand, which appears to be a walking cane, is in fact no cane at all. Your recoil, sir, is something wrong. And in your recoiling, you inadvertently facilitate the answer of the next conundrum to present itself. Namely, what is the truth behind this rod you bear? Yes, your reaction betrays the truth. The handle, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. From the moment I saw it, my suspicions were aroused. What walking cane demands such a stout handle? Mused I. But of course, as I said, this is no walking cane. That rod is the broken handle of a shovel. What? Are you insane? And now, having determined this undeniable truth, the conclusion is clear. Your true motive for coming here is to take employment at this establishment in order to excavate the ground beneath the premises. What a calculated crime you have conceived, sir. A wickedly calculated crime. Now, Mr. Benedict, let us continue. We must expose the details of this elaborate crime you have in the planning. This is utterly absurd. You suggest that I, a gentleman, intend to excavate the ground beneath this pawnbrokery with a broken shovel? What on earth do you propose I could expect to find there? Some long-forgotten treasure, I suppose? Save for such a fanciful theory, what possible reason could I have to do as you say? Oh, but there is ample reason. As you are only too well aware, Mr. Benedict. Ah, and your furtive glance is more telling than I could have hoped. What? Let us consider what would motivate a man to infiltrate a shop such as this and covertly dig beneath its floor. The answer is revealed by the council notice on the counter to which your eyes were inadvertently drawn. This letter gives notice of public works to be carried out in the local area. According to the enclosed plan of the upcoming sewage works, beneath this shop runs a sewer that adjoins another. One that runs under the bank on the opposite side of the road. This madness has entered the sewers now, has it? By excavating the ground beneath our feet, we would gain access to the waterway. It flows in very close proximity to the great vault of the financial institution opposite. What are you? In summary, sir, you devised a master plan to pull off an elaborate bank robbery by dint of the underground tunnels. Master plan? Which brings us at last to the final chapter of this lurid scheme. With what plunder did the thief hope to make off from the underground vault of the bank? Are you quite serious? Having consulted with Scotland Yard some days ago, I happen to know the answer. Naturally, the answer is no secret to you, is it, Mr. Benedict? I have no idea what you're talking about. Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. You see, this picture postcard tells us all we need to know. Postcard of the Great Exhibition? I'm afraid you've quite lost me. Currently in the final stages of preparation, the Great Exhibition will soon be underway. And the government has provided extra funds to complete its centerpiece, the Crystal Tower. Funds that currently sit in the vault of the bank on the other side of this road. Pardon? Yes, the considerable crime you have been contemplating is the theft of that which sits in the vault of the bank, the special reserve funds for the Great Exhibition. Of course, this is a top secret police information, so keep it under your hat, please. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this pawn-brokering puzzle. I feel like it's a problem that you just revealed top-secret information. Mr. Sholmes? Well, Mr. Naruhodo, an impressively upbeat deduction for a detective racked with loneliness, would you not agree? Was it true what you said about the bank over the road and what it has in its vault? Indeed, though few know of its existence. It is one of the government's most closely guarded secrets. Gregson told me in the strictest confidence. But you just announced it to everyone here, rather loudly in fact. Ah. And if it's such a big secret, how would Mr. Benedict have come to find out about it? There can be but one explanation for that. Clearly it is because the man is a criminal. But what if he didn't know anything about the money in the vault? If he is a criminal, as you said, and buying a brand new shovel is sure to be the first thing he does now that you revealed the secret. Oh. Or if he doesn't, maybe Mr. Windibank will. He already has plenty of shovels here, after all. Oh my life, I assure you I'm not so unscrupulous. Well, hopefully this has taught you a valuable lesson. Sensitive information must be handled with the utmost of care. One can never be sure that someone privy to secrets won't disclose them. And once the word is out, it's out. Perhaps I'll think twice before confiding in you next time, Mr. Sholmes. An excellent idea, Mr. Naruhodo. An excellent idea. Ah ha ha ha. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, you know what to do, I'm sure. Yes, let's listen to that great deduction again and see if we can massage it into shape. Very well then, let's start once more from the beginning. Of Herlock Sholmes' magnificent logic and reasoning spectacular! Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Okay. I'm not going to read all this since we just read it before. I mean, for starters, even though the coat looks like it fits him, does not go with his outfit. So, by Mr. Sholmes' reasoning, Mr. Benedict came here in order to apply for a job so he could dig down through the floor. Yes, in an attempt to tunnel into the sewers to gain access to the money in the vault of the bank across the road. But he wouldn't get very far with a broken shovel, would he? No, I think it's fair to say his motives lie elsewhere. The question is where? What did bring Mr. Benedict here at this particular point in time? Scribbled writing. Those notes were scrawled by somebody famous. I think we have to actually read the notes. That's probably my mistake. Came here today with the intention of pawning it for as much as the broker would give you. What precisely was your intention with that, Mr. Naruhodo? Just following the natural progression of the deduction. Truth is, you do not have a turn for observation or deduction. Did that hurt? Yes, a lot. I still don't quite understand why this gentleman came to Windibanks today. Might look like a smartly dressed man about town, but perhaps he's destitute, really? I really think that's the only explanation. You must stop thinking along those lines, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, I suppose you're right. Well, in any case, perhaps there's something in this pawn shop that the man was looking for. Let's look closely and see if there's anything about his person that gives us a clue. Let's investigate the writing first. Oh, look at all the scribbled notes on the back of the flyer here. I don't believe it. What is it? Listen to what it says. Name, Gina Lestrade, height 5'2", green cap, scruffy waistcoat, grubby white shirt, blue satchel, ragged. It's a detailed description of Miss Lestrade. Goodness. There's even a sketch of her hat and all that. Although if he showed it to her, she'd fire that smoke grenade launcher at his face for sure. And look, the details of the shop have been written down here too. Windibanks Pawnbrokery, Baker Street, redemption deadline 15th of April, which is today's date. Why would Mr. Benedict have all that information scrawled on the back of that piece of paper? Okay, so now we can present this.
Take that!
Yes, what brought you to this shop in the first place is the info about Miss Lestrade. Quite so, my dear fellow. It would appear that the writing and sketch on the reverse side of that flyer pertain to the pickpocket Miss Lestrade and to Mr. Windibanks' pawnbrokery here. Ah. You originally told us that you had merely given chase after Miss Lestrade stole the redemption ticket from you. But that, sir, is a thinly veiled lie. Hey, Fridays, how you doing? It is the information on the back of the flyer that led you here today, by which I mean here to Windibanks Pawnbrokery, and today the redemption deadline of that overcoat. So you waited outside for the young girl matching the description you have written down to arrive. And you have gone to some length to hide the reason for your pursuit of Miss Lestrade. In other words, there is some ulterior motive for your actions. Ooh, what are you trying to build? Cane, which you unwittingly clutch to your person, exhibits an incontrovertible contradiction. What utter rot, I've had this cane for years. Contradiction of which I speak is, of course, the missing ferrule. What's a ferrule? The metal cap commonly found on the end of a cane, Mr. Naruhodo. Ah, the bit that makes the nice clacking sound on the pavement. Yes, exactly, and Mr. Sholmes is right, it appears to be missing on this cane. But it doesn't actually look broken, does it? No, it doesn't, though the gentleman certainly did recoil when Mr. Sholmes identified the cane as suspicious. AoE heat riser that lasts 5 turns. That's interesting. In other words, there's some secret about the cane that Mr. Benedict would rather we don't know. It's probably the handle. Look here, Miss Susato. There's some letters on the handle. Ah, yes, those must be initials, I think. In the West, it's customary for people to engrave their belongings with the first letters of their names. So, Herlock Sholmes would be HS, you mean? Yeah, that's right. And the initials on this cane, obviously. Oh. AG. Why does it feel as though that's not quite right?
Take that!
The contradiction of which I speak is, of course, the initialing. A most astute observation, wouldn't you say, Mr. Eggert Benedict? You're led to believe, sir, that your initials are EB. Yet in a most possessive manner, you have in your grasp a cane bearing the initials AG. An incontrovertible contradiction indeed, would you not agree? No, you're wrong. This cane isn't. You said before that you'd had that cane for years. Grr. So don't try to tell us that you just borrowed it from a friend or found it in the park. In short, though you hold yourself to be a gentleman, you have withheld your true name. You recoil, sir. Is something wrong? Aye. And in your recoiling, you inadvertently facilitate the answer of the next conundrum to present itself. Namely, what is the truth behind this rod you bear? Yes, your reaction betrays the truth. The handle, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. Let's consider the bare bones of what's happened here. Miss Lestrade redeemed that fine-looking overcoat. Now a mysterious man has appeared, introducing himself with a fake name and claiming that the overcoat belongs to him. But we know that he actually identified Miss Lestrade from a written description, which suggests that everything he's told us is untrue. So what we need to do here is somehow prove that the overcoat cannot possibly belong to him. A split seam! The coat doesn't fit him. Oh, the seam on the shoulder there is coming apart. Look, so it is. You know, a moment ago, when Mr. Benedict was surprised by something that was said, I thought I heard him make a rather strange noise. It sounded a bit like a tiny growl. No, I think it was probably the sound of the seam ripping open. If you look closely, it does seem to be a very tight fit. The sleeves are stretched to bursting, and you wouldn't have a hope of fastening it at the front. If he were to run around in it, I'm sure the whole thing would fall apart. That I'd like to see. Sorry. So how can we make Mr. Benedict run around? She's really giving this some thought. So let's present a split seam. Oh, it's really hot where you're at? Interesting. It's been like pretty reasonable here. Like, I think it's supposed to snow again later, like late this week. But otherwise it's been like, the temperature has been kind of going up. The split seam, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. Yes, because the overcoat is rather obviously a poor fit. Having forced it over your broad shoulders, the seam is already breaking it apart. My suspicions were aroused from the outset. When you so badly lied about your name and so boldly waylaid this pickpocket. Alright. This catalog of untruths has been for one very specific purpose. To steal the article that the young girl redeemed from Mr. Windibank. Arg! But what really irks me is this. The considerable crime I initially imagined has been considerably curtailed. To abscond with a redeemed item. Now, Mr. Benedict, let us continue. We must expose the details of this elaborate crime you have in the planning. This is utterly absurd. You suggest that I, a gentleman, designed a wheeze to filch some tawdry article of pawnage. Have you forgotten that I redeemed the article in the proper manner using the watchword? Had I not been the one to deposit it in the first place, how could I possibly have known the relevant details? Ne sais pas. Oh, but the watchword can be discovered. As you are only too well aware, Mr. Benedict. And your furtive glance is more telling than I could have hoped. What? Let us consider how one might come to learn a secret watchword relating to the pawned property of another. The method is revealed by the council notice on the counter. Definitely not the notice. The direction of the deduction must change rather dramatically now, I think. There's no more talk of tunneling into the sewers, which is a pity because it all sounds rather exciting. Anyway, you can't deny that this mysterious gentleman did know the watchword. Yes, Professor. If you didn't know that word, Mr. Windibank would never allow you to redeem the article. Or looking at it another way, if you did know that word, Mr. Windibank would allow you to redeem the article whether it was yours or not. So the question is, could this gentleman have found the watchword out somehow? The notelet say. Look at this, Miss Susanoo. It appears to be a memo that Mr. Windibank has scribbled to himself. Let's see, what does it say? Oh, Professor. Mr. Windibank must make a note of the watchwords his customers give him right before their eyes. And in alarmingly clear script as well. Oh dear. I don't know where to look. Who knows what other secrets I might see? That's probably the notelet then.
Take that!
The method is revealed by the notelet on the counter to which your eyes were inadvertently drawn. Yes, the broker here follows the same procedure whenever a customer comes to redeem an article. He asks the customer for the watchword and notes down the response uttered on a notelet he has to hand. Then he consults his ledger and confirms whether or not the watchword matches that of the article in question. I would expect nothing less of a diligent pawnbroker, but his diligence clearly has its disadvantages. What are you talking about? It is increasingly apparent that you were present in this shop before your accusation against Miss Lestrade. In all likelihood, you followed her inside and then observed her talking to Mr. Windibank. When the diligent broker made a note of the watchword, as is his common practice, you observed him writing the word Professor on the notelet beside the ledger. And that, sir, was the master plan you devised to steal the pawned article from young Miss Lestrade. Master plan? Which brings us at last to the final chapter of this lurid scheme. Why would you go to such lengths to redeem that particular article from this pawnbroker? Are you quite serious? For an ill-fitting overcoat hardly seems to justify the effort, much less a worthless music box disc. But naturally, you had very good reason to make them yours, didn't you, Mr. Benedict? I have no idea what you're talking about. Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. You see, this picture postcard tells us all we need to know. The articles we're talking about are the overcoat and the music box disc that was in one of the pockets, which according to Mr. Windibank isn't even worth a penny. And yet this man went to such lengths to steal them. Why? I wonder if perhaps we already have the evidence we need to explain it, Mr. Naruhodo. Could we really? I'd better have a thorough look through all the evidence we've collected so far. Well, it's the music box disc or it's our badge. Oh, hello. Oh, there's a little scrap of paper stuck on the reverse side of the disc. Look. A scribbled word or two. It looks like somebody's name. For McGilded. McGilded? It couldn't be. But it is Mr. Naruhodo. A name I shall never forget as long as I live. But why? Why is his name on this? So I think we just go ahead and present this, right? Miss Lestrade tried to grab the disc from him. The pin scratched his fingers, it seems. Like when you're grating some daikon radish and accidentally catch your finger. Ouch, just thinking about it hurts and puts me off eating radish.
Take that!
You see, this music box disc tells us all we need to know. What's that on the back? It reads, "For McGilded." Ah, Mr. Magnus McGilded, the unfortunate philanthropist who perished in curious circumstances at the Old Bailey 2 months ago. A prominent man in London, though his loan-mongering demonstrated a distinct lack of scruples. So you're an associate of his, are you? Or perhaps a subordinate? Mr. McGilded was a man of unusually small stature, in fact. He was precisely the right size for that overcoat that you've squeezed yourself into. Your true identity remains shrouded in mystery, Mr. Eggert Benedict, but the final conclusion here is crystal clear. The reason you came to the pawnbrokery today was to retrieve an article left behind by the late Magnus McGilded. Arg. Well, Mr. Magnus McGilded. Not a name I expected to hear in these circumstances. Mr. Sholmes, I'm afraid there's something very troubling on my mind. Pray tell, Miss Susato. Well, according to what Mr. Windybank told us earlier, today was the final day on which the coat could have been redeemed, was it not? Yes, ma'am, that is correct. Today would be precisely 2 months since it was first deposited. Well, today is the 15th of April, so 2 months ago today was... would have been the 15th of February, sir. That's right. It's all carefully recorded in my ledger. Deposited at 10:30 p.m., I see. What? But that suggests... Yes, 15th of February is precisely the day on which the omnibus murder took place. And 10:30 in the evening is precisely the time at which the terrible events were unfolding. Suggestive is not the word. It would seem the matter is entirely beyond coincidence. You are, of course, at liberty to make whatever outlandish deductions you choose, however. I must insist you hand over the music box disc now. It would be a terrible shame for you to return to your native land in a box. Ugh, what do I do? Absolutely not! There are some things a man must protect at all costs. This may well be one of those things. Then again, it may not. Mr. Windybank, this is my shop. I can't allow any harm to come to my customers. If that were to happen, I should have to take my own life. Mr. Windybank, no! Alright, that's enough. Inspector Gregson. Inspector? That's right, Sunshine. The alarm was raised once on one of our dedicated emergency lines. So we got here as fast as we could. Now what's all this about, eh? Oh, praise be, you're here at last. I was moments away from forfeiting my own life in my very own establishment. It would seem you have the upper hand. Right, you lot have got some explaining to do. I don't appreciate being bothered with some petty argy-bargy. Petty? Mr. Windybank was very nearly met with his end. Yeah, by his own gun as far as I can tell. Oh dear. And the whole of Britain could meet with its end if I don't get to the bottom of the case I'm supposed to be working on. What on earth is the case, Inspector? Spare no detail, Gregson. I might have said a little too much. No matter, it's nothing to do with you lot. Anyway, sir, you're gonna have to come with me down to the station. But of course, Inspector. Ah! He's getting away! Get after him, lads! Whistle the beat, Officer Turf. Sir! There's been a spate of thefts at pawn shops around here recently, so we fitted emergency buttons underneath the counters for brokers to let us know when there's trouble. Oh, Inspector, I was very worried there for a while. Very worried indeed. Now then, Mr. Permanently in Mournin'. Oh, yes? We'll be taking that whatever it is of McGilded's down to the yard, thank you very much. So hand it over. Oh, yes, of course. No, don't give it to him. It's mine, that is. It's mine. I'm sorry, miss, but anything belonging to McGilded has to be taken in as evidence now. As evidence? If the police demand something as evidence, my dear fellow, we have no choice but to capitulate. I'm using a lot of big fancy words since I started playing this game. It's all yours, Inspector. Grr. And so we handed Mr. McGilded's disc over to Inspector Gregson, and we were summarily turfed out of the shop and onto the street. Alright, investigation part 2. See, that's why I ate grown-ups. All they do is feed you a pack of lies and take stuff away from you. Oh really, Miss Lestrade? Tell me, is that overcoat keeping you warm? Well, oh my, surely you were given that. Yeah, the D let me keep it after I looked daggers at him for long enough. He went through the pockets and then said, go on then, have it, before telling me to scrap her. Or scrape her. Always pays off giving people a look like you ate them. Can't help feeling that this is going to get you in serious trouble one day. What I really wanted was that nice shiny disc, mind. Music box disc? But Mr. Windibank said it was practically worthless. I think I'm gonna go and have another bash. Give him a long, hard stare. I think not, Miss Lestrade. We shan't enter Windibanks again today. Why not? That's not fair. Can't be helped, I'm afraid. The police are investigating the scene now and taking a statement from Mr. Windibank. But that disc's mine. I had the ticket for this coat and it was in this coat's pocket. And there should be something else and all. That's what that rotten cove said, ain't it? Yes, he did mention something about another article, didn't he? Well then, that's mine too, whatever it is. Now she's really pushing her luck. Miss Lestrade, I think it's time to admit defeat. Had your haul for the day. Yeah, and it's all your fault, Sholmes. So what are your plans now? Will you dine with us this evening? Eh? Iris would be delighted to cook, I'm sure, and I might entertain you with a modest violin recital. Nota. Oh. Why would I come round your place, eh? Have you lost your head or something? Oh dear, she's gone. Having reviled on me quite unnecessarily, I might add. I can't help wondering. Perhaps she might turn up anyway. Interesting. Once she's had a chance to calm down, I think there's a good chance she'll decide to come. Very well then. I'll inform Iris to set a place for our potential guest at the dinner table this evening. And one more thing. I should be glad of your company later too. Sorry? I believe I will have a rather splendid surprise to show you. Oh, how exciting! What is it? We shall have to wait and see, Miss Susato. Until later then. I guess we can go back to our legal consultancy. What to do? Can it really be that we've been in Great Britain for 2 months already? Yes, it's gone by in a flash, hasn't it? And what an English gentleman you've trailed off there, Susato-san. I'm sorry, when I thought it through I realized it's not at all true, actually. Simply don't feel that any Britishness has really rubbed off on you. Nor you, to be honest. Well, that's obviously because, yes, I know, without a doubt, it's your kimono. It most certainly stands out. I do adore the attire of English ladies, it's quite delightful, but somehow I just don't feel ready to abandon my Japanese dress just yet. I wonder how Susato-san would look in Western clothes. That would be interesting to see. Is there something to do on Baker Street that we missed? Looks like not. So maybe we do just go to Sholmes' suite. Ah, Susie and Runo, come in, come in. Good afternoon, Iris. Thank you so much for breakfast this morning. Oh, don't mention it. Goodness, look at the time already. Busy as always? I am. I'm preparing everything for dinner this evening. Already? You're obviously cooking something special, are you? Oh yes, after all, we have a special guest joining us. Guess who it is? Go on. Hee hee, you'll never guess. With those little eyes of hers shining. Oh dear, it is awkward when you already know the answer, isn't it? It's Ginny! Isn't that exciting? Oh, what a surprise! Yes, that's wonderful news. Wow, Iris seems overjoyed at the idea. I can't wait to learn some pickpocketing tips from a real professional. Oh yes, that does sound like fun. I'm not sure that's entirely appropriate. Are you, Mr. Naruhodo? Does she have, like, a little stuffed animal in her pocket? Oh, that's cool. She's got, like, a little Herlock rabbit and, like, Iris-themed mouse on her thing. I guess you can't see it because my camera's in the way. Hold on. Whoop. There. It's there next to the dialogue thingy. Now you can see it. And now, woo, whoop. By the way, Iris, what's Mr. Sholmes up to? Hurley? Oh, he's been like that ever since he got back. Hello, Mr. Sholmes? I beg that you won't speak to me. Sorry? I don't know who you are, but kindly take your leave. As you can see, I'm not here. I don't know how to respond to that. Do apologize. When he gets like this, he's completely oblivious to everything. Yes, I see. Really, he behaves just like a child sometimes, Hurley does. Mr. Sholmes and Iris have something of a parent and child relationship, don't they? Yes, except that Iris is clearly the parent here. Come to think of it, I wonder where her real parents are. What's the matter, Runo? You have ever such a funny look on your face. Oh no, it's nothing. I know what it is. Why does this girl live here with Mr. Sholmes, you're wondering? Am I right? How? How did you? Hehe, oh Runo, I can read you like a book. This girl is dangerous. Don't worry, you can ask me anything, I won't mind. So let's ask her anything. Ginny. So by Ginny, you mean Miss Lestrade, the young woman from the McGilded case 2 months ago, right? Yes, who also stole my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Although after that trial, I invited her back here and we had dinner together. And now we're the best of friends. Oh, hee hee, what a lovely tale. Yes, now if I bump into her on the street, she runs away as fast as she can. Oh. And I chase after her down the back alleys. Interesting idea of friendship. And then I let her have the latest color of smoke grenade I developed. Oh. There's so many beautiful colors in the world. Ginny wants me to make a whole rainbow. Suppose this means you let Miss Lestrade keep the smoke grenade launcher, have you? Yes, that's right. I'd got bored of it anyway. Hurley always reacts the same way when I shoot him with it now. Poor Hurley. Ooh, I can't wait for Ginny to arrive. It's been too long since she last came over. I'm so excited. I might tilt my monitor just a touch, so it's like easier for me to see it. So I can like look back and forth a little easier. Just hope she actually does come. And tell me about living with Sholmes. I'm sure you've been wondering why it is that I live here with Hurley, haven't you? Well, it has crossed my mind, that and where are your real parents? My mummy and daddy aren't with me anymore. Mummy passed away when I was born, and at around the same time my father, well, he had to go to a faraway land because of one of the cases he and Hurley were working on. Oh, wait a minute. Did you say he and Hurley? Yes. Daddy and Hurley were always solving mysterious cases together. She didn't mention that before. He wrote them all up in his diaries. That's what's in the metal chest over there. Really, he recorded them all? So you mean it's true Mr. Sholmes really did have a partner with whom he tackled some of his most taxing cases? Oh yes, I mean, it's always nice to have one, isn't it? So Mr. Sholmes' partner was your father? Exactly. Hurley told me I wasn't allowed to look in the chest. But that only made me want to look even more, so I opened it up and found your father's memoirs. Yes, so I asked Hurley, who wrote these? He nearly fell off his chair. But then he told me. That's when I found out that the author of all those accounts was my father. All 3 of the auto skills. Yeah, that could prove challenging. Although I think I'm trying to think now, because in my playthrough of Golden, I've already got one of them. I think. I guess I don't know when the other ones show up. It's probably doable with enough fusing and patience. So Iris's father was Mr. Sholmes' partner. I practically lived with Hurley all my life. I was tiny when he took me in. So it came as quite a shock. When Hurley told me he wasn't really my daddy, I mean. It must have done. I wonder why Mr. Sholmes chose to tell you, and at such a young age. Hurley said it's because he wouldn't have been able to hide it from me. Oh? Well, having lived with Hurley all these years, you might say that his ways have rubbed off on me. There's some things I can just see. Especially lies. I almost know when people are lying before they open their mouths sometimes. Right. Anyway, I was so fascinated when I read Daddy's diaries. That's what inspired me to write The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, actually. I always assumed that Mr. Sholmes simply told you all those thrilling stories. Oh no, Hurley's hopeless like that. He forgets everything. As soon as he's solved the case, it all but vanishes from his mind. Oh, I see. The other day, it was so embarrassing. As usual, he totally forgot about the case he just solved. So the very next day, he gathered together all the people involved and proceeded to solve the case again. It was quite a shock for everyone. You can say that again. You share your father's surname, don't you? That's right, Wilson. Daddy is Dr. John H. Wilson. I learned from his diaries that he's a doctor of medicine, you see. That's what prompted me to study and study so that I could earn a doctorate as well. What was the doctor's name in the very first case? Was that Dr. Wilson, or was that a different guy? Iris's father, who went some distant land, and is a doctor by the name of John H. Wilson. The court will now hear the trial of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Kindly state before the court the name of the victim in this case. The victim's name was Dr. John H. Wilson. I was right. It all comes back around. That's right, visiting professor of medicine at Imperial Yume University, and the man who in the most bizarre of circumstances lost his life just before we left Japan. Miss Susato, yes? Perhaps we shouldn't pursue this conversation any further at this time. I think that would be for the best. Ah, my dear fellows, how good to see you. Eek, Mr. Sholmes. Why ever did you not make your presence known to me before? Ha. Well, no matter now. So, how the devil are you? We've been with you for most of the day. Goodness, really? Do tell me, Mr. Sholmes, is your violin unscathed? My violin? Whatever are you talking about, dear madam? Oh, never mind that now. I have something far more interesting to show you. Behold, my dear fellows. Oh, another music box disc. No, not another disc, Miss Susato. This is the one Gregson demanded we handed over as evidence. Mr. McGilded's disc. Oh my. Then what's it doing here? Hehehe. You know, at times, Mr. Naruhodo, I think that, though I have an undeniable turn for detection, I may well be even more adept at larceny. Oh, that would be wonderfully exciting. I'd be your pickpocketing assistant. And Runo could be our go-to lawyer if we ever got caught. Right. Plus, Susie has such beautiful handwriting she could write all our menacing, crime notifications. Yes, I'd be delighted. I'm just gonna pretend this conversation never happened, I think. Which is what a good lawyer would do. The music box disc. I don't understand. How did that disc come to be in your possession? I thought Inspector Gregson took it back to Scotland Yard. Quite correct. And that sort of uncompromising attitude is precisely why I always carry some of this. That's a bar of caramel, Mr. Sholmes. Does it actually just say Sholmes Caramel on it? Your one and only friend in times of loneliness, if I'm not mistaken? You will humor me, my dear fellows. Cast your minds back to when the good detective confiscated the disc. I'll be taking that whatever it is of McGilded's down to the yard, thank you very much, so hand it over. Oh yes, of course. If the police demand something as evidence, my dear fellow, we have no choice but to capitulate. It's all yours, Inspector. For the briefest of moments, I had the disc in my hand, did I not? Yes, you did, but I still don't understand. It was at precisely that moment that I summoned my one and only friend into action. I pressed the disc into a pair of bars like this. That's amazing! The disc and all the minuscule protrusions have made an image in the caramel. Indeed, this caramel is quite exceptional. Exceptional. I developed it myself, you know. Suitably soft for making impressions, but resistant to melting. The result of a precisely controlled solution. How extraordinary. Carrying a pair of these on one's person frequently proves very useful indeed. Take a house key, for example. A simple press in its unique form is duplicated. I can enter anyone's property at will, and never without high sucrose nourishment. Yes, it sounds illegal. From the image, I was able to create this. I confess I was most curious to know what manner of music would issue from the disc when played. So let's hear the music on the disc. Do tell us then, Mr. Sholmes, what music does the disc play? Well, unfortunately, I have no idea. No idea? None whatsoever. Are you familiar with the workings of a music box, my dear fellows? No, I'm afraid not. Goodness, you don't know, Runo? Inside a music box, there's a special metal piece called a comb. That's what produces the sound. Small protuberances pluck the different teeth of the comb as they rotate past it, making the different notes. The first music boxes to be invented used a rotating cylinder with protuberances on it. But over time, a new type of player was produced which uses discs such as these. With that development, the popularity of music boxes spread far and wide all around the globe. Why, exactly? Because the discs are easy to produce and can be interchanged to facilitate the playing of different tunes. There are a great many firms in Europe now manufacturing music boxes as a result. It is wonderful to be able to enjoy music even when no performer is present. But it is the very success of the invention that means we are now presented with an insurmountable problem. What do you mean? As you may imagine, the construction of one firm's music box does not match that of another. We have no way of knowing in which music box this particular disc was designed to be played. There is no resolution to this problem, I'm afraid. It's quite intractable. I see. So that's why. Naturally, I tested the disc in those few music boxes I have at my disposal. But as you can hear, to no avail. The results were equally unsatisfactory in this one. So, I'm presently engaged in acquiring an example of all the music boxes ever made in Europe. Every single one. That's Hurley for you, always taking things too far. But my dear girl, an unsolved riddle is quite repugnant to my constitution. Surely all the different types in Europe will amount to a huge volume of music boxes, won't it? Yes, that is certainly true, in the worst case. I shall just have to ask you to vacate the attic room. What? Can we not just, like, check Magnus McGilded's house for what kind of music box he had? Or maybe he pawned the one that's in the store. Magnus McGilded, not a name I expected to hear again so soon. Yes, it's only been 2 months since that Grizzly case. Mr. McGilded perished within hours of the trial's conclusion. Was it the curse of the Reaper? No one knows still now. The omnibus was reduced to a pile of ash, not a shred of evidence remained. And with that man's death, or with the man's death, the truth about the murder in which he was so intimately involved was buried. I don't know, I think it's all connected. Like, we're finding out that the doctor from the first case was actually Iris's dad. The events of that third trial are coming up. I bet the, like, secret reason that, what's his face? Was going to be coming to Britain is going to come up at some point. The newspapers are still claiming that it remains an unsolved case. The murder of the brickmaker, Mr. Thrice-Fired Mason. In the end, the truth of the matter remains a mystery. We still have no idea what really happened that night. And although Mr. McGilded was found not guilty through my defense, I still don't know if that was the right judgment or not. It would appear the case is not yet closed. Well, it's time I started getting things ready for dinner, I think. Ginny will be here before long. Thank you, Iris. Oh, well, you must let me help you then. Of course, Susie, there's plenty to do. I think I shall investigate the condition of my faithful performing partner. Now then, where did I leave it? Let this be a lesson to you, Mr. Sholmes. Never leave anything too precious with the pawnbroker. Yes, you may be right. Oh, that reminds me of something Mr. Windibank said before. He said that he had a manuscript of Iris's in pawn, did he? Or didn't he? Did he? Yes, he definitely mentioned it. Mr. Sholmes' latest tale of otherworldly mystery lies dormant in my storeroom, were his words, I believe. So you heard about that, did you? I expect you were as incensed as I was. Oh yes, the idea of such a wonderful story languishing in Mr. Windibank's storeroom gathering dust. My dear madame, I'm quite sure I told you already. Pawnbroker's storeroom is the safest place for it, more secure than a bank's vault. And what about your Stradivarius, Hurley? Was that safe and secure? Well, there may be the occasional mix-up, caused by a certain impetuous someone not far from me now. Do you have any idea how long it took me to write that Baskerville story, Hurley? Oh, it sounds so exciting, The Hound of the Baskervilles. I should love to read it. What's going on here? Why does it feel like an icy chill just swept through the room? Susie, what did you just say? You said the Hound of the Baskervilles, but how could you know the full title? Well, that's because Miss Susato is such a great fan of all the stories about Mr. Sholmes, of course. But Runo, the Hound of the Baskervilles, has never been published. What? When I showed Hurley the manuscript, he told me that I wasn't allowed to publish it yet. I don't understand. That's why he said he'd keep it safe, until it was the right time for the story to be made public, you see. So that's why the manuscript is at Windibank's? And yet how could Susie here know its title? Well, Hurley, what's going on? Ah. What is it, Mr. Sholmes? It would appear our guest has arrived. Miss Lestrade! This was a bad idea. I knew I weren't welcome. I'm going. No, wait, Miss Lestrade! We've all been eagerly awaiting your arrival. Haven't we, Iris? Oh yes, just wait there, Ginny. We'll have everything ready in a jiffy. Come along, Susie. Right, of course. It's a pleasure to see you here, Miss Lestrade. Please make yourself at home. Don't stand in the doorway, my dear girl. Come along in. What say you to some Mendelssohn? I won't take no for an answer. Meddlesome it is, then. Oh, hello. Meow. Interesting they spell meow differently than, at least I have ever seen it spelled. That evening, Iris prepared us all a meal that was even more delicious than usual. Mr. Sholmes' violin performance was in no way meddlesome. And Gina, as well as we came to call her, taught us all how to steal things from one another without being noticed. Everyone thoroughly enjoyed themselves well into the night. That was a very enjoyable evening, wasn't it? Oh yes, Iris's cooking was truly divine. And I feel as though I can still hear the enchanting strains of Mr. Sholmes' violin even now. Best of all, I bet I could steal the glasses from his lordship's face next time we're in court. Naruhodo-san, could I consult with you about something, I wonder? What's the matter, Susato-san? It's about the telegram I received. Ah. The one that arrived first thing this morning, I suppose. I've been summoned. What? Summoned? What do you mean? The telegram was from the Lord Chief Justice's office. Lord Strongheart has asked to see me. The Lord Chief Justice? When? Tomorrow morning. What? And then we have to start preparing at once. Oh no, that won't be necessary, Naruhodo-san. I've been summoned alone. Alone? What on earth for? I have no idea. I suppose I shall find out tomorrow. What's all this about? Whatever it is, it's making me feel very uneasy. Oh, who could that be, I wonder? Good evening, friends. Ah, Iris, hello again. And Gina, too. Yes, Ginny's going to stay with us tonight. She's going to sleep in with me. Isn't that right, Ginny? Well, yeah. How lovely. Let me make a pot of tea. You know, I've learned so much today. Oh, what in particular? All those things Ginny showed us, wasn't it wonderful? Oh, you mean all those pickpocketing techniques? We had fun trying them out on each other, didn't we? I think I've awakened a natural talent. I could earn a living from it. You might be getting ahead of yourself a little there. So what brings you up to our humble quarters at this late hour? Well, you see, I came to return this. Wait, what? That's mine! Oh my, however did you... I told you, didn't I? I have a natural talent for it. Oh yes, I'd forgotten. Iris literally is a child genius. Oh anyway, here, you can have it back. Not that I really understand why you wear it, though. Thank you. Alright then, good night. Yes, good night. So this is your office, is it? What do you think, Ginny? I think I wouldn't fancy me chances with a lawyer what lives in a place like this. Yes, me too. Ha 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 ha. Seems as though Iris here still has something she'd like to talk about. Suppose she probably wants to talk about the manuscript. Yes, I suppose she probably does. So let's discuss it. Iris, I suppose you're hoping to talk about the manuscript, aren't you? Aren't you going to tell me? I'm so sorry. I need a little more time, please. Alright, I understand. I hope I haven't made you feel awkward. Oh no, not at all, Iris, not at all. I don't know what all this is about, really, but the story you made up, is it, Iris? That mantle script or whatever you call it? It's not exactly a story that I made up. It's something I read in Daddy's diaries. Daddy's? That's right. I don't suppose I've mentioned it to you before, Ginny, but my daddy was Hurley's assistant once, his partner. Eh? They solved all sorts of strange and mysterious cases together. Is that right, mister? Apparently so. I was as surprised as you are, though. And Daddy wrote all the details of every single case down, you see, in his diaries. So I study them and I write my stories based on what actually happened. So where's your old man now, then? He had to go away on urgent business to a faraway land. And he'll be gone a very long time. So I've never really met him. Oh, right. Come to think of it, I don't know anything about Gina's parents either. Perhaps we should ask her. Iris, this Hound of the Baskervilles story. I take it that it's another tale inspired by your father's accounts. That's right, I thought it was fascinating. But it's different somehow. From the other cases, I mean. Oh, how? I don't really know, but it must be special in some way. Because after I'd written it and I'd showed the manuscript to Hurley, he turned as white as a sheet. It was the first time I've ever seen him like that. It pains me to have to say this after you've toiled over it for so long, Iris. But this story must not be published at this time, under any circumstances. But why not? It's one of my best works. I'm not at liberty to say, not now, so please do not ask me. Alright then, I won't. But I do solemnly swear that I will explain everything one day, Iris, when the time is right. And that's how the manuscript came to be with Mr. Windibank, is it? Yes. Hurley said it had to be somewhere very safe. That really gets my goat, that does. He's treating you like a child. It's mean, that's what it is, keeping secrets like that. I'm sure Mr. Sholmes isn't trying to be mean. Eh? He said he wasn't at liberty to talk about it. I'm sure there must have been a very good reason. I think so too. Susato continues to cryptically hint that she knows what's going on, but won't say. You lot are too trusting for your own good. But he can't pull the wool over my eyes. Sholmes is lying to Iris. I bet my life on it. What? Hurley's lying to me. I guess let's ask Gina about her parents. I realize that I don't know anything about your parents, Gina. I ain't got any, have I? Never did have. Oh. Look, the East End's full of orphans like me. No one wants nothing to do with us from the moment we were born, not even our mums. But we all stick together. The older ones look after the little ones and make sure they get by. So that's why you're a pickpocket. Nah, diving's my life. I love it. I get a kick out of it every time I lift some pompous idiot's purse. And that's how we all afford to eat. I'm like Robin Hood, ain't I? That's how I see it. Oh, Gina. I do think about it sometimes. What it'd be like to have parents, I mean. I always thought it'd make everything right. But having listened to what Iris just said, sounds like having parents ain't always easy either. Oh. I mean, if you know you never had them, you don't feel like you're always wanting to meet them. It's true. I do want to see Daddy so much. Oh, Iris. And Sholmes' lie. Gina, what did you mean when you said that you know Mr. Sholmes is lying to Iris? Well, he reckons he popped that manuscript or whatever, right? But come on, that's obviously a load of rubbish. Oh my, what would make you... Why would you think that, Gina? It's simple. If that story was really an old Windibank storeroom, there's no way someone from halfway around the world, in other words you, could know about it. Ah. Sorry, Iris, but if you ask me, he sold it. Without telling you. But Hurley would never do something like that, I'm sure of it. Ha! Grown-ups do a lot worse than that, believe me. Barefaced liars, the lot of them. You just ain't realized it yet. I'm telling you, that manuscript ain't at Windibank's. You'd soon see it if you had a look. Even if you think you can trust him, I don't. That Sholmes is a liar like the rest of them. If I'm honest, I have wondered if Hurley's telling you the truth sometimes. See? Oh, but I don't mean that I think he sold it. I mean that I sometimes wonder if he might have hidden my manuscript somewhere. Somewhere I don't know. Even though it's wrong of me to doubt him. Don't be too hard on yourself, Iris. Oh my goodness, look at the time. Come along, Ginny, we should get back downstairs. Yeah, alright. And please, don't mention any of this to Hurley, will you? No, of course not. Good night then, Iris. Good night, Gina. You must let me make breakfast for you tomorrow morning, I insist. Oh, yes, please, I can't wait, Susie. Good night then. Iris, it sure is easy to forget, isn't it? Sometimes she speaks just like an adult, but deep down, she's still just a child. Well, I think it's time that I turned in for the night too, Naruhodo-san. Dr. John H. Wilson, Iris's father, but also the name of the murdered visiting professor at Yume University. It can't be a mere coincidence. There's something deeper going on. I mean, we did find out that visiting lady from Britain with the funny hat that was actually a bird did that. Mr. Naruhodo. Mr. Naruhodo. That voice, that's Mr. Sholmes. What's going on? It's the middle of the night. It's Miss Lestrade. She's gone. Gina? She was supposed to be sleeping in Iris's room, but her bed is empty. Well, she's an independent young woman. She probably decided to go home, no? I think not. From speaking to her before she retired, I received the distinct impression that she was looking forward to breakfasting with Miss Susato. No, I don't believe the girl has gone home. I've been waiting for over an hour now. Over an hour? Oh. If you'll indulge me, look out of the window, my dear fellow. What's this about? Wait a minute. Why is there a light on at this time of night? That's Mr. Windibank's pawnbrokery. Mr. Windibank's? Oh no. It's simple. If that story was really an old Windibank storeroom, there's no way someone from halfway around the world, in other words you, could know about it. Sorry, Iris, but if you ask me, he sold it. Without telling you. Could Gina have gone? It seems you have some knowledge of the situation, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry? Oh no, not really. Well anyway, we must investigate. At once. Miss Susato? The door to Windibank's? It's open. And the lamp is burning. It must be Gina, mustn't it? Let us hope it's nothing more sinister. What? Come, there's not a moment to lose. Clearly something is afoot inside. I don't like the look of that calendar. There's no one here. Oh yes, there is. Ah! Mr. Sholmes! Mr. Sholmes! What the? Has Sholmes been shot? Leave me, Mr. Naruhodo. But after them, go! Right. Blast! I've lost them. Hello, hello, what have we here? The alarm was just raised from this pawnbroker, sir. Would you know something about that? Officer, come with me. It's my friend, Mr. Sholmes. He's been shot. Shot? With the policeman close behind me, I ran back to Windibank's.
Mr. Sholmes!
Mr. Naruhodo.
How bad is it? Never mind me, but there's much at stake. Behind that door. In the storeroom. Hurry! It's Gina!
To be continued. Oh, investigation part 3. Yeah, that would be where the to be continued happens. Ah! I'll be alright, Mr. Naruhodo. After them, go! Behind that door, in the storeroom. Hurry! Is this all the same stuff we just saw? It's Gina? From that moment, Windibank's pawnbrokery became a crime scene. Everything that followed happened in a whirlwind of activity. The arrival of the police, the preliminary investigation of the scene, and the questioning. It was just before dawn before I was allowed back to my lodgings at 221B. On the 16th of April at almost 6 a.m. Oh, Iris! A telegram came, but all it said was, wait at home. Oh yes, we asked one of the policemen to have it sent. It was simply impossible to come back. When I woke up, I was all alone. Hurley and Ginny were gone, everyone was gone. What happened, Runo? Poor Iris, she's trembling. She's obviously trying very hard not to let herself get too worried. I'll explain everything that I know. Something awful has happened, hasn't it? Yes, I'm afraid so. Events at Windibank. I'm so sorry to have to tell you this, Iris, but Mr. Windibank is dead. He was shot and discovered it in the early hours of the morning. Oh yes, I had a feeling. You did? Well, I saw all those police carriages pulling up outside his shop, so I knew something must have happened there. When we entered Windibank's in the small hours, we disturbed a gang of 2 thugs. They ran out onto the street and I chased after them, but they got away. So it was one of them who shot old Mr. Windibank, I suppose. I don't know, but it's not what the police believe at the moment. Oh, why not? They've arrested someone else as their prime suspect, you see. Gina. Ginny? But why? Well, the thing is... No, Ginny wouldn't do something like that. I know. None of us think she did it. Why have they arrested her? I'm sorry, there was nothing I could do. Let's get Sholmes' situation. So where's Hurley then? Is he still there investigating the scene? He really ought to have some breakfast. It's not good for him to miss meals. I don't want you to worry, Iris, but I have some news about Mr. Sholmes. He was taken to hospital this morning. What? Well, when we entered Windibanks, a gun was fired and he took a bullet. Hurley was shot? No. It's alright. His life isn't in danger. Really, are you sure? Where is he? Which hospital? He's at St. Sinner's. They're tending to him there. I must see him at once. I'm sorry, Iris, but you can't. Why not? That's not fair. I'm a family member. I should be allowed. No, I mean, nobody can see him at the moment. He's not allowed any visitors. They're preparing to operate, you see. To operate? Oh, poor Hurley. Let's talk about injured Sholmes, I guess, as long as we're here. It was the 2 thugs who were in Mr. Windibank's shop. They shot Mr. Sholmes when we disturbed them, you see. It was pitch black inside the shop at the time. My mind went totally blank, I'm afraid. I just froze. After them. Go! After that, I ran out into the street, but, well, they were long gone. I shouldn't have hesitated. I'm so sorry. It's my fault. I let them get away. I think it's a very good thing. Sorry? Well, if you'd seen which way they went and chased after them, you might have been shot as well, Runo. On top of everything else, I couldn't bear that. Oh, Iris. Let's talk about Susato's situation. She probably just went straight to her meeting or something. Where's Susie, Runo? She's still at the police station. Oh, why? I expect she's still being questioned. The police said they wouldn't be finished for a while. Why aren't you there then? Well, I didn't get a good look at the criminals anyway, so they weren't questioning me for long. And the Susato stayed behind at the scene to tend to Mr. Sholmes, so they didn't get started until later. I see. Besides, this had to come back to be with Iris. I'm glad Inspector Gregson agreed to me leaving early. You should have let me know and I would have come to the station. Let's talk Gina's arrest. I don't understand why they arrested Ginny. It's not fair. What about the two thugs that were at the scene? Why aren't they the prime suspects? After all, they shot Hurley dead, didn't they? No, I mean, Mr. Sholmes isn't dead, Iris. This is also horrible. The thing is, Mr. Windybank was found on the floor in the storeroom, where he keeps all the deposited articles, and the storeroom door was locked from the inside. I see. But he wasn't alone in there. Gina was found next to him on the floor as well. Oh no. According to the detectives who investigated afterwards, don't tell me there was no one else in the room. Yes, exactly. How did you know? It's the only explanation. Yes, the only explanation indeed. What do you mean by that, Runo? Well, what can I say? I'm damned if I agree, damned if I don't. I'm afraid I'll need to go out again now, Iris. There's not much I can do at the moment, but I can at least try to find out how Mr. Sholmes and Gina are getting on. I want to go too. Take me with you, Runo. I can't stand just sitting around here waiting. I'm not sure how I feel about taking a 10-year-old child to the scene of a murder, but I don't want to leave her all alone here either. Alright then, Iris. Perhaps you can help me? Oh yes, I'd love to. Gina's at the prison. Mr. Sholmes is probably in his hospital bed. And don't forget, we have to visit the crime scene. You need to conduct a thorough investigation. I can see you're ready for action. I imagine Iris would appreciate going to the hospital sooner rather than later. So maybe that's the game hinting at us to go to the hospital first. Oh, that's interesting. It's like she has something to say about each area yet. It's always a bit quiet when Hurley's not around. I love attic rooms, don't you? They're so exciting. Let's go to the hospital. That back wall has seen better days. Hurley! Oh? He's not here. No, that's strange. The nurse definitely said he was in the bed by the window, didn't she? Oh, I know what's probably happened. Hurley was being a big baby, and the bullet wound wasn't that bad after all, so he's been sent home. I'm not sure about that. Baby or not, there's no question that it was a fairly serious injury that Mr. Sholmes suffered. Oh. Hello, hello, what have we here? This ward is off limits, no visiting. So what are you doing in here, eh? Well, I'll have you know we're Hurley's next of kin. Eh? Oh, well, begging your pardon then, ma'am. Sir. A little lady and a curious Eastern gentleman. A great mystery solver as a mysterious family, eh? That's how you see us, I'm sure. Where is he, Constable? Where's Hurley? I believe he is currently in the operating theater, ma'am, undergoing an extensive operation. Extensive? It has been several hours since he went in. Oh dear. Is he going to be alright? Well, it doesn't appear to be working, you see. The anesthetic, that is. Oh. I have heard a report that the gentleman claims he may have had a little too much to drink last night. Coffee, that is. Ha. Anyway, I think it would be fair to assume that he won't be back here for several hours yet. I see. Thank you, Constable. Perhaps we should leave and come back later. Oh, poor Hurley. Can we examine the note on his bed? I wonder what these are. Do you have any idea, Iris? Oh, haven't you ever seen crutches before? Let me explain. They're for people with leg injuries to help them walk. You hold one under each arm, you see. Alright. Okay, Fridays. Have a good night. Good luck on that project. I thought they were weapons of some sort. Why would there be weapons in a hospital? Thought maybe a fighter had been injured in battle, in a battle contest, and been brought here along with his weapons. That's surprisingly plausible. What does the note on the medicine cabinet say? Everything I'm like interested in checking out, they're telling me I can't check out. So I think I'll check this out, but maybe it's just time to go to the other places. There's a notice board on the wall here. Look, let's see, what does it say? Thought of the day. On seeing any vermin, calmly and discreetly inform matron. Oh yes, they have rats and mice in hospitals like this that love to feast on all the medicine. If you don't deal with them, there's nothing left to treat the patients. Rats and mice? Oh, I see. This is rather an old building, I suppose. But the doctors and nurses are all very good, I hear. Certainly hope so, for Mr. Sholmes' sake. I guess we'll just go to prison? Let's check out what Ginny's up to. 16th of April, local prison, cell 13. Hello, Gina. They let her keep that? Oh, you still have the grenade launcher Hurley and I made. I wish you wouldn't point it at me all the time, though. What are you here for? Ginny. I have a feeling it's because of us that you ended up in trouble. So we were thinking that we might be able to help you. Well, you can't. Sorry. You get lost. Don't be like that, Ginny. I know you didn't do it. You'd never shoot someone, I just know you wouldn't. You think you know me? Pull the other one. Oh? You ain't got the first idea about the likes of me. I'm a thief. I pinch people's purses when they're walking down the street. That's how I get by. And if I saw me chance, I'd sneak into a pawn shop any day of the week. Just to see what I could lay my hands on. Get it? That's the kind of person I am. But, Ginny. I'll be in court tomorrow, they said. Some cove came by before and said he'd be a lawyer for me or the like. Said it was my right or something. And I told him to get stuffed. I don't need no lawyer. I don't need no one. She couldn't be staring at me any more obviously if she tried. Why are you being like this, Ginny? Legal representation. I don't understand, Gina. Why did you send the public defender away? He wanted me to sign some papers, representation papers or something like that. It's all going to be rigged anyway, the whole trial. Pin it on me because I'm a kid. That's what grown-ups always do. Why do you think that? Because that's how it's always been for me growing up in the back slums me whole life. If you do what the grown-ups tell you, it'll get your mates dragged off by the coppers or worse. I've had it happen to me before and I've been sold out and nearly snaffled on the back of it. Can't trust no one, that's the point. As soon as you do, you're gone to the grass, dead. Gina, listen. If you like, in tomorrow's trial, I could forget it. Ginny, don't you trust Runo? Nah, I don't. Look, I'll ask you nicely now. Just leave me alone. Will you tell us what happened, Gina? Last night at the pawnbroker's. There's nothing to tell. I figured he'd pay me, so I broke into the place and started going through the storeroom. The old bloke walked in on me, and you know the rest. But why, Ginny? Why would you do that? Ain't it obvious? The place is full of stuff I could sell for a shilling or two. Diving ain't easy, you know. It's a lot of hard work, and half the time you don't even get nothing. Is that really why you broke into the place? What? Are you sure the true reason wasn't something else? I'll give it a rest. What'd be the point anyway, eh? Nothing I could say would make a blind bit of difference. Please tell us, Ginny. We'll believe you, whatever it is. Believe me? Don't be daft. You can't believe nothing. Everyone lies all the time. And you know what? When it comes to liars, I'm the biggest of the lot. I've told some unforgivable lies, I have. What do you mean by that? What unforgivable lies? What did you mean before, Gina, when you said you were the biggest liar of the lot? Why don't you tell us what these unforgivable lies you've told are? Maybe we can help. Sorry. We're out of time. They're gonna want to question me now. Ginny, please. Oh yeah. I wanted to give you this, something to remember me by. This picture of a cat was on the guy's desk. Photographic print of a really adorable cat. I found it in one of the pockets of this coat. Ain't no point in me having it. I wonder what a little photograph like that was doing in a pocket of that overcoat. Anyway, don't bother coming again. Bye. Oh, Ginny. The white cat photograph has been entered into the court record. Let's examine the cat picture, because I bet there's something on the back. Look on the back of this print here, there's something written on it. 13th of February, 9 p.m. Article deposited, 1 small box. Loan amount paid, 10 shillings. Redemption deadline, 13th of April, 9 p.m. So this photographic print is a redemption ticket. 13th of February, that could be significant. It was just 2 days before the murder on the omnibus, wasn't it? A small box, that doesn't tell us much about it, does it? Runo, if Mr. McGilded still had the ticket, then presumably he never redeemed the article. So do you think the box might still be present somewhere in the shop? Yes. It's something Mr. McGilded deposited we need to investigate. White cat photograph information has been updated in the court record. What if we present this back to her now? Here, Gino, look at this. No, Ta. Wasn't saying you could have it. Oh, weren't you? Well, when someone says I can't have stuff, it makes me want it, see? So you better hand it over now. No, I'm not giving it to you. So I guess let's head over to the pawnbroker. This is where it happened then, last night. That's right, the 2 thugs I told you about were obviously ransacking the place looking for valuables. But, apart from the policeman in here, you wouldn't know anything had happened. There's no sign of a disturbance. No, you're right about that, actually. In fact, if anyone, it's the police who seem to be the ones doing the ransacking. I know what you mean, they're like a gang of organized criminals all dressed in black. Oi, I heard that. Oh, Inspector, good morning. I suppose I ought to thank you for your vigilance last night. We got to the scene before it was disturbed, at least. Shame you let the two rogues get away, mind? Yes, I'm sorry about that. I thought you'd assigned extra men to the beat around here, Gregsy. Now look what's happened. Hurley's been injured because there weren't enough police on duty. Ah! Your ladyship! No one told me you were coming. I expect you to take full responsibility for what happened to Hurley and see he has the very best medical care. Of course, your ladyship, the very best doctors in the capital are attending to him as we speak. And I don't think it's Runo's fault that the rogues managed to get away, is it? Chasing criminals is the police's job. Absolutely, your ladyship. As you say, ma'am, as you say. Gent in black is totally blameless. Everyone's in agreement about that. Would you believe it? He's like a completely different person with Iris. Talk about a personality change. Oh, where are me manners? Are you thirsty, your ladyship? Perhaps you'd like some juice? Some nice refreshing fruit juice? Oh, why? Are you thirsty, Gregsy? I have some of my special herbal tea with me, if you'd like some. Glug, 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 glug. Ah, lovely. Ta very much. That really hit the spot, your ladyship. I don't even recognize him like this. Okay, so we're gonna leave investigating the crime scene for next time. This is getting real interesting. I feel like we're probably gonna wrap this up in 1 or 2 streams from now. And then that works out, because that'll probably... Let me look at the calendar real quick. So if you aren't in the Discord, you may have missed that I ordered a new streaming computer, and that is supposed to arrive on the 15th. I may or may not have it set up in time to use it for my stream on the 16th, but that would mean probably around the time we're finishing this up, I could actually stream something on my new computer. That would be pretty fun. And cool. So other than that, I will see you on Wednesday for some more Persona. Oh, actually, one more thing. My Wednesday streams may be moving to Thursdays for a bit. We'll see. Get in the Discord for any updates on that also. But yeah, I will see you Wednesday for more Persona.